People who have visited the US, what is your WTF America story? When I went to the US the first time and ordered a meal from Burger King, ordering a large fry, Coke and a Whopper, I was blown away by the size of it all. Each item was larger than the same item back home. I was already like, what in the world? But then the cashier said I could have a second Whopper for $1. Again, I was like, what the heck? Sign me up. Another time, while I was in Daytona, I went to a restaurant and the woman kept refilling my drink again and again. Being a bit shy, I did not tell her to stop and expected a bill with $15 for sodas. But then I found out the refills were free. Incredible! Free refills! I'd only seen that at places like Subway, but so many restaurants in the US had free refills. I love the US for restaurants and food in general. The portions are massive and very reasonably priced. I think they can order like XLs. I kind of wish we had that here though. I love a big fizzy drink. Am I right though, guys? Can you order XLs? I'm from Canada and went to CC's Pizza in Florida. Holy crap! $5 for an all-you-can-eat buffet, which was basically a fast pass to witness a crap ton of gluttony that was on another level. Had a similar experience at a bar. We ordered a pitcher of beer, and when it came out to $5.50, we all looked at each other in bewilderment. The waitress then apologised for how expensive it was. For those that don't know, a pitcher of average beer typically costs $16 to $20, CAD. I'm from America, and I have a friend from Australia. It amazes him that there are so many flags everywhere. Apparently that is a distinct USA thing. He'll make jokes about how we all forget where we are. On a 3-week trip to the US last year, I counted over 1,000 US flags. I don't think I've seen that many Australian flags in Australia, despite having lived here for nearly 30 years. French ex-exchange teenager in Cali here. Summer 97. I was young and missed the field trip bus to Disneyland from San Diego. So I did something pretty stupid. I hitchhiked to go there by myself. Dude who took me looked like a plaincloth cop, but a good buddy. When he heard I was French, he told me to never ever hitchhike in USA because it's pretty dangerous. Plus, people could assume I'm a serial killer. So I boasted, "Look at you, you don't think I'm a serial killer? I'm not that dangerous looking or you are careless." He told me to open the glove box in front of me. There was a supposedly loaded fricking Desert Eagle inside. He dropped me at the bus station and insisted to give me $10 for ticket. I had cash and waited for me to go in the bus. I saw 50 chicken nuggets for $5. Jeez, I need that deal. I would literally bathe in chicken nuggets. They're the best thing ever. Oh, McDonald's nuggets are the best. 20 nugget share box? Absolutely, all for myself, smash it in 2 minutes. Went to Walmart. The fabled creatures there are just as the internet portrays them as. Nonetheless, still mind-blowing. My first trip into a Walmart, I saw a man in a brass button blazer with perfectly Brill-creamed hair, sparkling white teeth, orange skin, and white slacks that looked like he had stepped right out of an advert from the 1950s. He was with a very large woman wearing an "I love my gay daughter" t-shirt. I was so happy. So do you live in East Germany or in West Germany? Sorry, my World Encyclopedia set is from 1985. A woman was quite surprised to learn that we don't celebrate Thanksgiving in the UK. To be fair, they celebrate Thanksgiving in Canada. When I first moved to America, one of the first things I saw after leaving JFK was a homeless man masturbating outside of Union Station. It wouldn't have been that strange, except I'd heard a lot of things about NYC from people who had been there, or knew someone who knew someone, etc. And I was worried what I was seeing was just going to be an everyday, everywhere thing all throughout the country. Those gaps in your toilet stool doors. What are they even for? Peeking. When I started chatting to a cashier, she squealed and asked where I was from. I told her Australia, and she instantly dumbed down how she spoke. "Do y'all speak English down there?" I replied, "Sporadically." She laughed and informed me that wasn't a word. "Singaporean here. I feel your pain. You speak really good English for an Asian." This is actually jokes. It's like when you're talking to someone who doesn't speak your language. You automatically just really slow down your words. You're like, "Hello, do you know where this is?" But it's like no matter what speed you're talking at, they're not going to understand you. They don't talk your language. Korean friend who just got off the plane in Atlanta. "So many big fat black women." Yes, he said it loudly and in public. But my favourite was a Japanese fellow who went to a buffet with a group of us in Vegas. He sits down and his plate looks like a normal little meal. We all have heaps of crap all over ours and his eyes bug out that we have so much food. I said he's going to really freak out when he realises this is only our first plate. "So many big fat black women. I would like to imagine that this was expressed with great joy. I was 12 years old when I spent a month in Minnesota. I remember going, "What the heck?" Or at least a French equivalent, when we went to Mall of America and I saw the frigging roller coaster inside of it. Me paying at gas station. Attendant hears I have an accent, smiles at me. "You speak English so well." "Thanks, although I should do. I'm from England." Cue confused look. "Wait, they..." She trailed off. "Speak English there." Her colleague stared at her in open-mouthed disbelief and then broke out laughing with the other customers. She looked mortified. To be fair, I felt terrible for her. She was only trying to be friendly to a foreigner. How spread out everything is. Like, it's pretty much impossible for me to survive without a car, while everywhere I needed to go on a regular basis back in London was in a 10-minute biking distance. Also, the number of pickup trucks people own without needing. Especially out here in the West. The metro area I live in is like 8% the size of London population-wise, but it will take you 45 minutes by car to drive from one side of town to another. If you live anywhere in America outside of Washington, D.C., New York, Boston, downtown Chicago, or a few other places, it's vital to own a car. Do you have cell phones in Norway? This was in 2012. Kids nowadays get an iPhone and or iPad before they're born. Must be very painful for the mother. I asked an old lady if it's true all Americans carry guns. She smiled and pulled a revolver out of her purse. She was a nice lady. They're complimentary with your birth certificate here. I visited from Canada a couple years ago. Everyone was very nice and had the exact same mildly interested reaction to a credit card with a chip. We finally started transitioning to these in the last year or year and a half. We're a bit behind. When I first came to the US and my dad took us to a restaurant, I ordered a fish dish, and when it came out, I asked my dad how come the fish doesn't look like a fish. I was used to whole cooked fish, so deep fried fish fillet looked really strange to me. I had the opposite dining in France. I was not expecting my dinner to stare at me. I was complimented on my excellent English by a girl from Ohio. I'm Canadian. She thought we all spoke German. After moving from Africa as a teen, I am repeatedly asked why I moved to Africa in the first place, to which I reply that I've always lived there. I'm also asked, "So why are you white?" To which I reply, "Oh my God, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white." However, when they reply with blank stares, I realise they aren't referencing Mean Girls. But it's just something we all do, isn't it? It's funny. Ooh, to be fair, I'm with the girl on this one. I'm terrible at this. Anything to do with languages, I am absolutely useless. Was in northern New York, near Buffalo, and a waitress overheard that I was headed back to the Pacific Ocean. She asked where I was going, and I said Vancouver. "No, honey, Vancouver is in Canada, and that is on the Atlantic Ocean." I said, "Canada is from sea to sea, just like America." She replied, "No, that's not right. Only America is from sea to sea." The combination of her being absolutely sure about something and her total ignorance was surprising enough. But the fact that she felt she should basically interrupt our conversation by telling me I am wrong about what ocean I live beside was weird. That's Western New York. I'd never been out of Australia before. In Australia, only farmers and cops have guns. And some criminals, I guess. So I had never seen a gun that wasn't in a cop's holster in my entire 30-year existence. We go to the US for our honeymoon and have the honour and privilege of visiting a Walmart. The guns are just on the shelf. You can touch them. A fellow Aussie friend who was with us at the time asked the cashier if she could hold one. He looked at her as if she had asked if it was okay to breathe the store's air. "Can I hold one? This big one?" she asked, incredulous. "Sure, if you want to," the guy said, confused and bored at the same time. She picked up this big-ass gun. Sorry, not a gun guy, don't know what it was. It was about the size of a shotgun but was bulkier, and was getting us to take photos of her with it. If I had a gun like that at home and walked outside my house with it, someone would drive past and see me in about 10 seconds. They would call the cops, which would take about 30 seconds. The police station is just up the road, so I estimate a cop car would arrive in about 3 minutes. And it would take about 10 seconds for a cop to ask me politely to jump in his car and come for a nice chat down at the police station. But it would be fun for 4 minutes. About the size of a shotgun but was bulkier. That sounds like a shotgun. Canadian. Was in a gas station waiting to pay before prepay took over, and a couple of guys with handguns and holsters were in a line in front of me, resting their hands on the guns. Not so much what the heck. I knew to expect it. Yeah, this actually blows my mind. Imagine actually being able to go into a shop and buy a gun. That is just mental to me. It's a memory I think of often. As a Texan, a group of people with their hands on their holsters would make me extremely nervous. It's one thing to carry, or even open carry. Acting like you might draw that gun is another thing completely. When I went to Florida, I was stopped by the police for jaywalking. I protested that the road was clear, so therefore safe to cross. He said, "I don't know how you do it in your country. Be here in the US, we take road safety seriously." Aghast, I explained I was from England, and my only knowledge of jaywalking was from Lethal Weapon 3, and that I believed it was just a made-up law that they used in the movie to sass people. He chuckled and said, "That's a great movie. I prefer the first." I agreed and said it was by far the best. After a brief chat about the entire Lethal Weapon saga, he said, "In future, make sure you use the crossings." I agreed, but asked in a pretty decent South African accent, "What if I have diplomatic immunity?" He chuckled, nodded his head, and pointed to the crossing and said, "Cross there. Enjoy your vacation," and off he went. It was the highlight of my holiday. He said, "I don't know how you do it in your country, but here in the US we take road safety seriously. As someone living in NYC, I can't help but laugh at this. Jaywalking is a way of life." That said, I got the nastiest looks in Japan for doing the same, and would be terrified of getting fined in Switzerland. Apparently that's a thing, though I've never gotten fined when travelling there. Asked a girl in a hooker lounge if she knew where New Zealand, my home country, was. She replied asking, "Is that the country above us?" Well, it is a globe. If you get the angle right, you'll hit New Zealand eventually. A couple. I went to university at Cal State Fresno. I was a country boy from Canada. When I was there, the entire downtown of Fresno was boarded up, and you did not go there after dark. Actually, any time. And a full-blown gun/gang fight outside of my apartment, in Clovis, a suburb near the university. For a kid from small-town Canada, that was mind-blowing. A couple. I went to Fresno. That was your first mistake. Even Californians avoid Fresno. Especially Californians. Was at an all-you-can-eat buffet with a soft-serve ice cream machine. As kids, we thought we were being little pigs by swirling as high as we possibly could. Well, our parents weren't looking, or they certainly would have stopped us. The guy after us grabbed a full-sized drink tumbler and filled it up with ice cream. No shame at all. No childlike glee at making the mother of all Sundays. I suspect now it was something he did regularly. The first rule of all-you-can-eat buffet. There are no rules. Only the strong survive. I'm a Canadian, and I went down to the US to do a little shopping. I accidentally pulled out some Canadian bills, and the cashier asked why I kept Monopoly money in my wallet. There was a place called Norma's in Washington State. Somewhere rural. Anyway, it was like a shrine to George Bush. The owner was Guy, and the back of a menu had his face with the quote, "Just call me Norma," on the back. Best burger I ever had, called the George W. Bush burger. A universal what the heck for both foreign and US citizens. The Golden Coral. Everything was submerged in liquid butter. The patrons were larger than some cars. One time at Golden Coral many years back, I saw an overweight guy in suspenders whose chest, primarily due to the suspenders, was a fricking square. He wasn't round, instead he was wide but flat. He was only about 5'5", so that likely played a role into his geometric shape as well. Was the most mind-blowing thing I'd ever seen from a Golden Coral. First night in LA, watched as a stolen cop car and 1,000,000 cop cars flew past me down Hollywood Boulevard at 60 miles per hour at 10 p.m. Then I turned and walked back into the Thai restaurant, where I watched the fugitive get PIT manoeuvred and shot dead live on the news via helicopter chase cam. Dude sitting next to us was excited to tell us that we had officially experienced LA. Over-the-top car chases, action chase cam news, neon lights in Hollywood, an Asian restaurant that made me feel like I was in an art film. He was right. I've told this story on Reddit before, but my biggest what the heck was in fall 2005. Google Earth had just come out, and my colleague at the university lab and I were looking at it. She was a blonde bombshell from San Diego, and I'm a portly Indian boy. When I showed her Mumbai, my home city, she was blown away. "You have buildings? Look, there's an airport. Oh my God, you have cars. How the heck do you think we get around?" I asked. Her reply still rings on my head. Not walking, not cows, not elephants, not bicycles, not horse-drawn carts. She said camels. If I ever saw a camel in Mumbai, I'd stop everything I'm doing and say, "Holy crap, that's a fricking camel." I went to Disneyland in Anaheim, and it just struck me that there were a large number of disabled people out and about enjoying the rides. I'm from India. where there is no shortage of disabled people, but it was just the sheer number of disabled people. Wow. Actually imagine camels being the only way of transport. That would be sick. That made me extremely happy that the park was accessible to everyone. You done good, America, I said to myself as I ate some horrible, expensive fried thing. I later realised that most of those people were not disabled, but fat people on scooters who did not feel like walking. Where do I sign up? Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos coming daily.